The 6 worst artists of all time were named by Dick Van Dyke. A lot of people love Dick Van Dyke more than almost any other American actor. For more than 70 years, his good looks and contagious charm have made him a trusted figure in American culture. This makes his private thoughts on the bad side of Hollywood even more shocking. A former studio assistant said that Van Dyke saw these heroes for what they really were. Not the careful public pictures, but the real people who are only seen when they're not around other people. And some of the things he saw really upset him. These admissions are so interesting because they show the difference between well-liked public figures and upsetting private lives. People often didn't show that the charming main men, beloved comedians, and father figures they let into their homes were violent, cruel, and abused their power. A culture historian said, "Hollywood is great at managing its image." Van Dyke's point of view is interesting because, as someone who has always been honest in his work, he was able to know when the difference between what someone says and what they actually do isn't just showbiz marketing, but something more evil, a cover for really bad behavior. In the next few minutes, we'll look at 6 famous players that Van Dyke is said to have found especially disturbing. Not just men with bad personalities or artists who were very picky, men whose actions were so bad that even their friends were shocked. These weren't just famous people having temper tantrums. They were artists whose actions hurt people who were lucky enough to be around them. But first, we need to know how one of the people all over the world would laugh at famous comedians, but those who work behind the scenes would be scared and embarrassed, and why this Jekyll and Hyde character was so scary to Dick Van Dyke. Better. You still need to get the Black & Decker to open you up, though. Yes, of course. +1 for Jerry Lewis. This is the bad side of a famous comedian. In the 1950s and 1960s, when Jerry Lewis jumped across movie screens, people saw a comic with amazing physical skills. Excitement like a child, his blank expressions and crazy energy gave him a funny character that seemed like pure, unrestrained joy. Because of this carefully crafted image, he became a real culture phenomenon with fans all over the world. While he seemed happy on the outside, this man was known for being very mean, especially to people who were weaker than him. A film historian said that Lewis made a funny figure who seemed to be the opposite of calculating. The truth about the scenes were very different from one another. Every move Lewis made was carefully thought out, and he expected everyone else to be just as precise. People who worked with Lewis say that he stayed in charge by making others feel bad, verbally abusing them, and getting very angry. Crew members, especially women, often had to deal with Lewis's need to be perfect. He would scold them in public for even small mistakes he saw as mistakes. During his career, Dick Van Dyke met Lewis more than once and was allegedly shocked by the difference between his. An entertainment historian said that people have both public and private identities. Van Dyke is said to have told a co-worker, "Jerry hated being questioned. That made him dangerous." It showed something very important about Lewis. He couldn't stand any challenge to his absolute power. This hatred went beyond his artistic choices and included how he treated people he thought were less important than him. Several reports say that Lewis purposely made extras, technicians, and supporting actors look bad, sometimes for real mistakes, but more often just for fun or to show off. Achieve dominance. A culture analyst pointed out that Lewis was known for how he treated women. Female performers talked about being put down, unwanted moves made as jokes, and an environment where women were either sexual objects or targets for humiliation. This part of Lewis's behavior would have been very upsetting for someone like Van Dyke, who took pride in treating women with care. Lewis's case is especially complicated by the fact that he did real volunteer work for the muscular dystrophy group. There was a cruel boss behind the scenes and a tearful child advocate on camera, which produced a moral complexity that Van Dyke reportedly found very troubling. In the end, the scholar said he made everyone laugh while breaking people behind the camera. What made Lewis different from just being a tough director was how his violence seemed to be done for no reason. The shame often seemed to be the point, not just a side result of trying to be the best. Good night. Now tell the man, good night. Good night, guys. That's right. Now let's talk about these guys. 2. Errol Flynn, a cool bad guy in a suit. Errol Flynn was a famous actor who played a daring hero in movies and on stage. His roles in Captain Blood and The Adventures of Robin Hood charmed people all over the world. In the 1930s and early 1940s, Flynn was Hollywood's most famous action star. He was athletically graceful and had a sly charm. But there was a man behind the heroic picture whose death, Even by Hollywood's lax standards, the behavior in real life was troubling. A film historian explained that Flynn's character on screen was appealing because it suggested danger within accepted limits. The people in his stories broke the law, but they always did good things for a bigger reason. The horrible thing about Flynn's real life was that it turned this plan on its head. Under the surface of sophisticated charm, there was real evil that wasn't limited by morals. The most unsettling thing about this darkness was how Flynn treated women. During his work, he was accused of sexual assault many times, including in 2 well-known statutory rape trials in 1943. Even though he was found not guilty in both cases, which led to the famous line, "In like Flynn," the pattern of predatory behavior continued, with many women reporting experiences ranging from harassment to outright violence. An entertainment historian said that Dick Van Dyke called Flynn "poison in a tux" in a private chat. That was a great choice. Flynn was more dangerous than he seemed because he was nice. His public image was the perfect way for him to hide actions that would have shocked his devoted fans. In addition to how he treated women, Flynn was said to have liked Nazism, even though he played soldiers fighting against Nazi Germany in movies like Desperate Journey. The FBI looked into him to see if he had any ties to fascist groups, and his private correspondents told them about his views on race and politics that were different from the heroes he presented as fighting for freedom. What made Flynn particularly disturbing to peers like Van Dyke was how thoroughly his public and private personas contradicted each other, said the culture expert. Flynn basically used his good looks and image as a hero to commit sexual acts that many people in Hollywood knew about, but didn't say anything about because of how well he did at the box office. One of Flynn's notorious bad habits was abusing drugs and alcohol, which finally caught up with him. Before he died at the age of 50 in 1959, he was a handsome movie star, but by that time, he had mostly turned into a shell. But the harm he caused to others was still his most disturbing memory. The historian said, "Hollywood didn't pay attention to the rumors until it was too late. Flynn's predatory nature wasn't made by the studio structure. It just kept it safe and possible as long as he could make money with me on the radio, and I've never heard him sing so beautifully. He was good at something, and his range seemed to have gotten better." 3. It was Bing Crosby who was mean. Many Americans thought of Bing Crosby's voice when they thought of Christmas. His soft version of White Christmas makes me think of cozy family parties and holiday cheer from the past. The way he acted on screen, calm, wise, and at ease, made him seem like the perfect dad, a man whose kindness and easy charm reflected American family values. This carefully crafted image is very different from what Crosby's own son said about him after he died. They said that he was a father who abused his kids physically and emotionally, and who was too focused on being perfect, which left his kids with lasting scars. An entertainment historian said that Van Dyke was shocked when he found out how the real Crosby family worked. He had believed, along with many other Americans, that Crosby was the perfect dad for being nice. What he saw was a father who regularly beat his boys with leather straps and metal-studded belts while holding them to strict, impossible standards. This shocked him deeply. Gary Crosby, Bing's oldest son, and his brothers wrote a book called Going My Own Way, in which they talked about their scary and needy childhood and how their father never seemed to show real love. Gary explained that Bing had built a trophy room in their house and would take his boys there to beat them up for what he saw as wrongdoings. He would then expect them to come out of the room calm and without tears. The difference between how warm Crosby was in public and how cold he was in private upset Van Dyke the most. The culture analyst said, "There was a man whose voice sounded so soft, singing 'I'll be home for Christmas' while making a home that his own children said was emotionally empty and physically dangerous." There was so much hypocrisy. Crosby's professional image as an easygoing, low-maintenance performer was also a sign of his hypocrisy. While he worked on making himself look casual, perfectionists who worked with him said he had high standards and could be mean to coworkers who didn't meet them. However, he usually kept his temper in check by firing them quickly instead of exploding with anger like Lewis did. The scholar said Crosby's bad behavior wasn't flashy. It was cold and planned, and it was covered by good manners. He was able to charm